ECU at North Carolina. Sonny Dykes, who got to coach against Deion Sanders in his first game at Colorado, now gets the honor of coaching against Bill Belichick in Bill Belichick's first college game. And Ross, you were in Chapel Hill last week. Talked to Bill Belichick for a while. Did you guys share an acai bowl?
We did not, but Bill certainly, as I wrote in that story, he's been eating a lot of acai bowls at the Purple Bowl place in downtown Chapel Hill. So that's kind of his like go-to. But yeah, I spent about a day and a half or so down there talking. I spoke to him briefly, and then actually got time with his two sons, Steve and Brian, which was interesting. They don't do a whole lot of interviews. And I got them together, and I usually don't like that, right? As a reporter, like you hate getting people together. It just never works out. Like this did, because Steve is much like his dad, doesn't talk a whole lot. And Brian is the talkative one. So they sort of played off each other in the room.
There's a talkative
and it was
Belichick?
actually, yeah, Brian is very, very talkative. Yes. But they
Just
both,
like they're being a fast Manning brother.
They both have their dad's sense of attire. They both came in with black hoodies on.
Nice.
So, they have the dad hoodie thing going on. So it was interesting. It was an interesting conversation with all of them. They're back together. They were all on the same staff, obviously, his last few years, maybe his last like 3 or 4 years with the Patriots, they were all on the same staff. So they're all back. He's eating acai bowls. He's learning how to maneuver through the red tape that comes with working at a public university. I said, like, what? And he said 2 words, public records. So something new to him, certainly. But it's fascinating down there. I got a little time with the chancellor of the school, Lee Roberts, about the investment they're making in football, an incredible, like millions and millions of dollars of investment that they are already sort of seeing, some benefits from. I think they've sold out their season ticket allotment the fastest they've ever have. Even though they increased prices by 25%, they're expecting, I think, $8 million more in season ticket sales. They got $18 million in donations, which is a record last year. So they're having all these things that normally do come with, hiring a new coach, but certainly hiring a new coach whose name is Bill Belichick. So it'll be a fascinating experiment. And I think another part of this is obviously North Carolina's future, which I wrote a little bit about in the story, their future in the landscape of college athletics. It's pretty clear, although they didn't say it to me, that they're doing all this investment to win at football, to position themselves for the next wave of what we all know will be realignment in the next 4 to 6 years.
Ross, did they tell you? Do they tell you Big Ten or SEC? They just let you know now, or
no? There was no comment on that. I did ask Lee Roberts, but there was no comment. Yeah. But he did say,
"You guys feel more Midwest? You feel like more Southern, like polos or hoodies, guys."
He actually, funny enough, Godfrey, you appreciate this. Like Lee Roberts, the chancellor there, his mother was Cokie Roberts. And from New Orleans, obviously, and his dad, he was raised just outside of DC. His dad still lives in DC.
Cokie Roberts, famous White House correspondent, by the way.
Sorry,
Ross and I didn't acknowledge that because that was some journalism nerd moment right there. That was just like,
listen,
of course everybody knows what Cokie Roberts is.
I used to watch Peter Jennings every night when I was a kid.
I was a Dan Rather man. Yeah. I was a Dan Rather man
myself.
So were you a Brokaw guy, Ross? You want to complete the set?
Yeah. No. I bet Ross was a Brokaw guy.
If I had to pick, probably actually,
yeah.
That would have been the one. Yeah, that would have definitely been the one.
Rather was the Southern guy who lost his temper once in a blue moon. Yeah. We all
Jennings was the Canadian who chain smoked. Yeah.
Well, okay, it didn't work for you, but all right.
Where were we?
Cokie Roberts and Lee Roberts.
Yeah, Cokie Roberts, yes. So, no, what I was saying is that he's got a little bit of Southern to him. He grew up outside of D.C. in Bethesda, but he's got a little bit of a Southern to him. But I asked him about, hey, you're probably the most attractive school expansion target outside of the SEC and Big Ten. and he kind of gave sort of the normal, like, cliche, well, we love the ACC. We're founding members of the ACC. We're happy here. And then I asked him a follow-up question, just worded a different way. And, basically he basically said, well, we're all entrusted to make the best decision for the future of North Carolina and the university and the athletic department. But it's basically, he said, but it's nice to be wanted. And his exact quote was, to the extent we are perceived as having options, that's obviously a good thing.
Wow.
So they're going to have,
some diplomatic phrasing there. Congratulations.
His mom was obviously in media. His dad was in media. His wife is in media. He knows media. Yes. And he knows how to handle media and knows how to handle interviews.
So he can avoid saying
who doesn't know how to handle interviews? Jordan Hudson, at least. Because based on what
look at that transition.
I know. Wow. We're not talking about this, Ross.
We're talking about journalism class here. Let's go.
No, I didn't. So let me start from when I walked in the facility. They were in the middle of having a press conference. Belichick was having like a full press conference with the North Carolina beat there.
Okay.
And in the back of the room, she was in the back of the room, just watching. And then after they were done, both of them kind of walked off sort of together into the little lobby back area. And then I came around and was able to get him just for a few minutes off to the side. But she was right there. Her presence is all the media attention did not change that, right? She was very
banned
very much there
from the building, which
no, not banned.
We knew that when that story
definitely
came
not.
out.
Yeah,
she was not going to be banned because there was never going to be a ban.
Yeah. So she's there, front and center.
That's great. That's great. I have nothing family appropriate on this.
I just want to know if she offered some notes to Bill on his press conference performance. That was not the one where he announced Gio Lopez as their starting quarterback. That happened this week. But
no, that actually was the one he was asked, Andy, about who the starting quarterback would be. And sort of like that funny side of Bill Belichick came out where he had the tongue-in-cheek like, yeah, we're just going to tell you that right now, 2 weeks before the game. In fact, we'll just release the whole starting lineup for you right now. Would you guys love that? Let's get that done. It was like that sort of thing. Everybody in the room sort of, chuckled. What's
funny is Shane Beamer also not releasing a starting lineup for South Carolina. Same thing.
But he had a little there was a feeling of like the media was in on that laugh. It wasn't entirely at their expense. Is that what you're saying, Ross?
That's
it wasn't
right.
one of those,
no, correct. Yeah.
It wasn't one of those old school Boston things where he would just browbeat some human being and the skin would melt off of them.
There wasn't that. And apparently there hasn't been much of that there. I don't know if he was sort of told, but just asking around there in North Carolina, he's handled that.
Therapy,
now, he didn't allow a lot of players to talk in the spring, maybe hardly any at all. So that was sort of an issue there with the local media. But he hasn't been that guy that's really, but he also hasn't lost a game yet. So we'll see, I guess, what happens. But certainly the offseason, he hasn't sort of brought that Boston sort of bite to any media member, from what I understand.
And the losing a game could happen Monday night. Very realistic. TCU's favored in this game. They're pretty good this year. They got Josh Hoover back at quarterback, even though there were some very interested other programs, cough, cough, Tennessee, cough, cough. And so I'm fascinated. I'm just fascinated to see Bill Belichick, the college coach, the strategist working against more experienced college coaches like Sonny Dykes, like Dabo Sweeney. He plays Scott Frost. He goes down to UCF and plays against Scott Frost. This is going to be fascinating.
Ross, I have a question here because I'm noticing a through line between the profile you wrote last week and the profile that you just published today. With one Rich Rodriguez and Bill Belichick. They're tremendously similar, those personality types. But here's what I'm okay. Let me back up for a second. In college football media for years, North Carolina was always talked about as more of a hypothetical, and it was always an upside.
Giant.
Correct. It was always the program that, man, if you could unlock X, or that brand is so good, imagine what you could do with Jordan, $18 million in donations, as you mentioned in your story. You said there's record season ticket sales. Sounds like so the money faucet has been turned on. The investment that you're talking about, is that coming from people previously affiliated with UNC? Are those people that are just sort of, I don't know, maybe corporate donors that weren't properly engaged before? Because just like last week with West Virginia, what's obvious to me now is that the hire was made maybe not just because of football acumen, because a lot of people could sit here and argue that Bill Belichick does not translate to college football. By the way, having your sons on staff the last 3 years at New England
very much translates to college football, especially if they underachieve.
Yes. May not, but I was going to say, may not be the biggest brag in the world if you go back and look at some of those statistics that New England put up their last 3 years in the league. But it seems like we're making hires now to be able to rally the money in a very different way. In other words, this celebrity name, and Rich Rod is more about native son, homecoming arc and all that, Ross, but there's a through line with these two stories, which was this guy came in and there's more money coming into this program to help break them from a sort of perpetual mediocrity.
Absolutely. It's a great point. I think we've seen it really not just this year, right? I think we've seen it in the hires of the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, Dion sticks out, not just maybe money as much as like just attention, media attention, which obviously brings money. I think Rick George, the AD at Colorado's released figures about like the enrollment at Colorado skyrocketing. I mean, I think football hires now have become that where we're more worried in a way. This has to be like a twofold hire. Sure, we want you to win, but we want media attention and we want donations and money and TV money and in the spotlight and all that stuff. And I think that's a very real thing that every athletic director, president is sort of considering when they're starting to search for a new head coach. Lee Roberts, the chancellor, when he said that he always gets from people what would be successful, like the question, what would be successful for coach? And I think, his answer was, well, it's already been tremendously successful. Just look at the numbers. He hasn't even coached a game yet. So I think that's a good indication of part of these hires. Is money driving money because money's never been more important or needed, right, in college athletics.
As we talk about the political sort of the increase, sort of the politics involved in coaching hires, I also want to point out the nepotism connection too. So Rich Rod has a son on staff, right?
Oh yeah.
And his daughter also runs the
daughter too. Yeah,
right. And we have Belichick's plural now in Chapel Hill. So yeah, that American success story is still as strong as ever. As we talked about.
I mean, if you were Bobby Petrino's son-in-law for a while, you had a spot at Louisville. So,
yeah. Well, Ryan Beard is Bobby Petrino's Missouri State's head coach. Is Bobby Petrino's son-in-law?
Right. He was one of the sons-in-law in question.
Yeah.
So
that's sprang to mind. Get a Missouri State reference in. Come on, Andy.
Well, the Belichick thing is fascinating. I cannot wait to see him actually coach a college game.